Brian Norcross is with us right now. This guy doesn't sleep. Of course, you know him now, Fox Weather hurricane specialist, but he's an iconic figure. And I was watching you early this morning, and you ruled that wall with all the video and the map and all. What do you think of this thing?
Well, first of all, it may turn out that the worst, most destructive part of this is yet to come. Water does damage, as we know from storm surge. And the storm surge the peak storm surge that we had affected the least populated part of Florida. So even though we had storm surge all the way down to Tampa Bay and beyond, and we don't really know how much neighborhood damage there was. Because remember, storm surge is salt water. You put salt water into neighborhoods, you destroy cars, you destroy electricity, electrical systems and stuff like that. We don't know that yet. But what's going to happen now, it's still in Georgia, and it's moving, as you've seen, into South Carolina. So it's going to put very heavy rain, not right at the coast, but up the hill. All that rain goes into the river, it comes down to Charleston, the Ashley and Cooper River, it comes down the other rivers. And then the storm surge, if the timing is at 8:30 tonight, around that time, the water from the low tide to high tide in Charleston is 7 feet difference.
Whoa.
Just naturally.
And you've got a supermoon.
And you got a supermoon. That adds 6 inches or so to it. Well, if you go to Charleston at high tide, you'll see that seawall that was built 100 years ago, you don't have much room to play with there. So if the storm pushes in even a few feet, even 2-3 feet, it's coming over the seawall, and that's coming into the city again with salt water. So you have the salt water and then the fresh water coming down the rivers, and how those two mix. This sort of remains to be seen. The timing is critical.
It's not over until it's over.
Right.
So, Brian, let me ask you about the comparison often made with Ian almost a year ago. What do you think?
Well, this was not as strong a storm, and both storms weakened just before landfall, but Ian weakened to 150 mile an hour storm. This one's a nominally 120, and I don't think that was in the storm surge push zone of this storm. So I think we got lucky in a couple of ways here. One is, like I said, that it hit a fairly unpopulated place where we don't even have any buildings to go measure the storm surge. It's trees and stuff like that, where obviously Ian hit this very densely populated area. But they were similar kind of storms. And what was freaky about this one is it happened in August. Ian happened in late September. And this kind of storm coming from the south and bending into Florida, in the record book, is a late September and October phenomenon. It's never before an August phenomenon. So the weather pattern in general is very unusual, kind of loosely related to the heat dome, which it was and is stunningly exceptional.
As to what the rest of the hurricane season looks like.
It still is. I mean, the water temperatures in the far eastern Atlantic are exceptionally warm. Yeah. That means if a system can get organized, comes off of Africa, it's going to have fuel, but the weather pattern is not typical. So like the next one coming off is going to turn north right away. We'll see about the one after that. I mean, you don't predict these things more than about a week in advance, because you'll always be wrong.
Got it. You know, the one thing I noticed, though, when you walk on the set to talk to other meteorologists, that could, like, you were the Yoda meteorologist.
Thank you, Neil.
You know, very good seeing you.